Let's go.
There are a lot of shows out there that review the game and its content, and they might touch on the business model that the game uses, especially if it's a free-to-play game or the items that you can buy might impact the game in a positive or negative way, but I don't think it's discussed enough, so that'll be my goal with these videos. I hope you find them useful. Now, when it comes to free-to-play business models, I think a lot of studios make some pretty big mistakes. And let's be honest, this free-to-play business model is fairly new, and I don't think it's been perfected yet. And that's why I think something like this, which hopefully will inform consumers, can also be a tool to give feedback to the developers themselves. Please be mindful that pricing, as with anything in life, is all about individual perceived value. People will find value in $30 pets, people will find value in $100 pets. It really all depends on the individual. I think in order to fairly assess a game's business model, it's important to look at three main areas. The first is fairness in play, the second is content availability, and the third is fairness in price. For fairness in play, you're mainly looking at whether it's pay to win. Can you buy items that give you a distinct advantage within the game? Can you buy currency? Can you buy leveling aids? And of course, I think the definition of pay to win really depends on the game. Is the game inherently competitive? Will leveling give you a distinct advantage over other people? I think it really depends on the game and the setup of the game in determining whether something is pay to win. Content availability is another factor that developers can manipulate within the free-to-play model, and this is essentially how much of the game is actually free. The final area we'll look at is fairness in price. What is the exchange rate for dollars to whatever the currency the game uses? Also, what are the prices of the items that you can purchase from the game, and are those prices reasonable to the average consumer? The first game I want to take a look at is Path of Exile. Now, I chose this game primarily for two reasons. The first reason is that it's newly released. It was released on October 23rd, and since it was released, it's gotten a lot of really good press, and so I believe there are a lot of new players who might be wondering how the business model works, and if it's too good to be true. Because the second reason I chose Path of Exile is it's got a really good business model. I think it's extremely fair. The pricing is okay, we'll take a look at that later. But in general, I think it does have a really good business model. Alright, let's actually take a look at Path of Exile's free-to-play business model now. So looking at fairness of play. Now, the first thing you need to know about Path of Exile is that it does not have a traditional currency system. It actually runs on a bartering system. And for the bartering system, the main currency, so to speak, are these orbs here. There are about 20 different kinds of orbs. I don't have them all in my bank right now, or my stash. But they drop from mobs. You get them from selling items to the vendors. And this is really the main currency of the game when you're trading with other players. So the key assessment here is whether or not you can get these orbs from the store, whether you can buy them using real money. And you can't. You cannot buy them in the store. You cannot buy anything in the store that will then translate to any of these orbs. So now that we know that we can't buy the currency for the game with real money, now we have to take a look at what we can buy with real money and whether it would affect the free-to-play model if it's pay to win or not. So one good thing about Path of Exile is you can actually access the store from within the game. This button right here opens the store, and on the left is where you would grab the stuff that you bought. On the right is where you can actually buy things. Account features. So within the account features category, we have stash tabs and character slots. That's pretty much it. I'll get into the prices for these later, but it's really just you can go over to your stash. You can add some of these tabs, you can color code them, you can rename them. It's all really just for organization's sake. We have pets, item effects, which are things that you can add to your items in game to give them cool effects, armor and weapons. We have skill effects, which the skills that you can cast in the game, you can, I don't know, change the colors, or I guess you can add a skull to them. And animations. These look like dance animations if you want to dance differently, I guess. And this is, I guess if you want to design a custom item within the game, you can pay $1,000. And I'm not too familiar with the guild stuff because I think guilds are fairly new, but it looks like you can have a guild stash or something like that. And they have a daily deal as well. And this is different. I checked this yesterday, and it is different, so they do change on a daily basis, as you would expect. The bottom line is that none of these items within the store can affect your performance within the game. Only cosmetic and only for organization. And that's good. Alright, now moving on to content availability. And this is going to be really quick because the bottom line is Path of Exile has no paywalls. There are no gates to the content. The entire game is available to you for free. And this is especially cool for this game because they have a lot of different types of things that you can do within the game. You can just play the game like normal, but they also have these cool things called events, and I want to show you the website real quick. Now, events are 1 hour, 2 hours, sometimes a week. They vary in length, and they all have different attributes and circumstances. Some of them, the monsters might move really fast. Some you might be on a custom map that the developers have created just for that event. There's a lot of cool stuff to do that keeps the game really fresh, and it's all free. Alright, so on to the last category, which is fairness and price. And this is essentially determining whether the things that they sell are, well, whether they have a fair price or not. So I'm back in the game in the store, and as you can see, this demon hand pet, this black cat pet, cost 150 points. But how much is that really in real money? So I've created a spreadsheet. I'm going to hop over to the spreadsheet, and I'll show you guys. I'll have this available if you want on Google Docs. So I've created the conversion here. It's pretty simple. You get 10 points for every dollar you spend if you spend 5, 10, or 20. And these are distinct values. You cannot enter your own value. You can buy $50 and you get an extra 3%. Pay 100, you get an extra 6. And you get an extra 14% if you spend the whopping amount of $250. Well, what does that get you? You get this many points for that many dollars, but how much does this stuff cost? So it's fairly reasonable, I would say. It's a free-to-play game, so you have to expect that they would price the essential stuff at a couple dollars here, a couple dollars there. If you like the game, you're probably going to drop $5 or $10 and get a couple stash tabs. That's what I did. I think I spent $20, got 200 points. I was able to buy, I don't know, 6 stash tabs or something like that. If you were to ask me what my opinion was, I would say that this is reasonable because you get the entire game for free, and frankly, you don't get enough stash. I found myself running out of stash tabs pretty quickly. So I valued the game enough. I had so much fun with it that I decided I'll pay $20 and get some more stash tabs. You can buy pets. Some of them are ridiculous. Like if you want a lightning scorpion, it's going to cost you $110. Honestly, I don't understand this part of their pricing strategy because you can buy a scorpion for 15. I mean, I don't understand the price differentiation here because unless you are an expert, if you've memorized the store and you know that a lightning scorpion is 1,100 points and someone spent $110 on that lightning scorpion, if you're in the game and you see a lightning scorpion, you might recognize that person, loves the game and they wanted to buy a lightning scorpion to stand out. But the average person isn't going to memorize the store. They're just going to see a scorpion and say, oh, that's a cool scorpion. So I don't really understand the differentiation between the colors, but they've decided to make the colors of these pets different prices. The bottom line is I think it's incredibly reasonable, and obviously you don't have to spend $110 if you don't want to, so you can get a basic pet for a few bucks, which is cool if you want to support the developer. Also, apparently they do some theme stuff. For Halloween they have the demon hand and the black cat, limited time purchase. They also do bundles. They do bundles for the stash tabs as well as the some of the items. You do get better deals by buying the bundles. I think you save a few bucks this way. You can get some weapon effects for $5 or $6. These are pretty expensive. They kind of they exceed what I would consider a microtransaction. If you're aiming in the $5 range for average revenue per player, you probably expect them to pay $5, get a stash tab or two, and move on. And you can get some players who say, I love this game, I want to have an acid weapon effect, and they'll pay up to what they think the game is worth, which is probably 30, 40, 50 bucks. So it gives the player the opportunity to buy multiple weapon effects for their different characters and still stay under what they perceive the value of the game to be. which I think is really important. So overall, I think that the pricing for the store is fairly reasonable. I think they could have done the color pricing, the color differentiation pricing a little better. I don't think that makes any sense, but that might just be me. Well, I'm really glad that I chose Path of Exile as the first game to take a look at, because I think it has an extremely fair and reasonable business model. Well, I'm going to leave you with a rather humorous video. It is my first Onslaught death, and for those who don't know what Onslaught is, it's hardcore, where if you die your character gets moved to the standard league, but in Onslaught the monsters move 20% faster, they hit 20% harder. So I got a guy up to 51, and I died to Val, and it was pretty funny, so hopefully you enjoy. See you next time.
9-5 attack and use charge on him. Beast mode.